Hello everyone, I'm Civic and welcome back to another episode of the Friday Show. And in this episode, I actually want to talk about what kind of defines a tactical game. What gives it the label of being tactical? And it's kind of interesting, but also kind of like, well, duh. And I think the easiest way to see a tactical game is Rainbow Six Siege. It's a tactical shooter. And the reason why it's a tactical shooter is because it is very reactionary based. Rainbow Six Siege, you can plan out a strategy all you want, and you are still never going to be able, for the most part, never going to be able to follow your strategy because someone's going to have a counter to something. So you need to use tactics to figure out how to counter their tactics. It's basically like this. In a video game, you build up a strategy to do something, like Rainbow Six Siege or a real-time strategy game like StarCraft or Age of Empires. You build up a strategy, but in the end, you use tactics to execute that strategy. So in a tactical strategy game, like StarCraft or Age of Empires, you have your overall goal of, my strategy is to build up my economy first and then my military, or do both, or do a rush. That's your strategy. But ultimately, it requires a lot of tactics to execute upon that strategy because you don't know where your resources are going to spawn and you don't know where your enemies are going to spawn. Now, in a game like Civilization, there is the only tactics in Civilization is unit placement and when you're going to make a unit. That's about it. I mean, the rest of it is just kind of click, go over, boom, I did my turn, your turn. It's very simple, doesn't require a lot of movement, and unit placement, you use it, but you don't really need to. I mean, sometimes you do. But there's not a lot of tactics in it, so it can't really be a tactical strategy game. I've noticed with me that games like tactical shooters and tactical strategies I really like because there's only so far in a strategy game that I like to think ahead, right? When I play Civilization, I play it like a tactical strategy game. And that makes it so my early game is always extremely strong, but then it sets me up so that if I played it like a strategy game after the beginning of the game, I can actually play it a lot better because I set up those initial cities and resource gathering and stuff. And in a real-time strategy game like StarCraft or Age of Empires, I really like it because it's reactionary based. I prefer reactionary based games where you have to think really fast. Rainbow Six Siege. I put a lot of hours into Rainbow Six Siege. That's because it's very reactionary. I like, instead of thinking ahead, I like to think of everything that can happen at one time and choose the best course of action. And another reason why I like that is strategy games tend to be a kind of situation where up until the big battle, things you do will not be apparently bad or good until the battle. In a tactical strategy game or tactical shooter, when you do something wrong, it is very obvious right up front in your face. In a strategy game, you could be playing and be doing like 10 things wrong and not even know you're doing them wrong until the end of the game. And real-time strategy games do have that element of you have to wait to see if the way that you built your economy is better than other people. But when it starts getting to battles and stuff and you actually start actively battling, if you and your opponent have this kind of similar strategies and you end up with similar armies, similar resources, it gets very tactical very fast. In the end, a tactical game is defined as something that involves tactics, like unit placement, strategy, not really strategy, tactics are within strategy. So things like unit placement, unit training, what are you going to do if they do this, all that stuff. I think Civilization can be defined as a turn-based strategy, not necessarily a tactical strategy game, because it still has a couple tactics you can have, but for the most part, you can play it with your strategy completely involved and not even have to worry about the battling half the time. That's it for this video. Thank you guys for watching. If you enjoyed, tell me in the comments below. Subscribe for more Friday Show. I just talk about kind of gaming in a new way of actually just talking about individual topics of gaming. Sometimes I do news, but most of the time I like to talk about my perspective on what makes games games. At least recently, that's been the trend for about a month or so. But yeah, I'm Pacific. See you guys in the next episode of whatever I decide to make.